Welcome to Bike Channel.
On this week's show, we're going to be getting all political as we head down to chat to our local MEP, Peter Skinner, about these new EU legislation laws that are threatening to come in and change the way we ride bikes in the UK.
Me and Luke also take a look at the second-hand market and see what bargains you can get for under 5k.
And I'll be checking out the TomTom Urban SatNav for bikers and seeing if it's worth shelling out your precious pennies on.
But first up, Luke, I think we need to start off with some sexy glamour.
Well, that's lucky, because you know what, Suzy? Glamour is my middle name. Can't you tell with a new hairstyle?
Is it really?
40 quid that cost me, eh? Boomtown. It is, in fact, so I thought I'd get the KTM RC8R out for a spin. One of the most glamorous bikes in the world, and I even took it to the seaside.
Sexy.
It's a hard life, man. It's one of the hottest days of the year. We are here in the wonderful English Riviera of Brighton. I have an ice cream, the sun is out, the sea is just there. There are scantily clad women wearing bikinis. Things don't get much better. Oh, and you might have noticed that. 2011 KTM RC8R, toy I've got to play with for a few days. Mummy! So, what do I think of this incredible machine? Well, first up, looks-wise. Honestly, it's a work of art, if you ask me. I think it not only one of the best-looking bikes in the market at the moment, possibly the best-looking bike ever. In my eyes, obviously, and that is just relative to my opinion. I mean, she's beautiful. The colour, I mean, you can get her in black and orange as well, but this white and orange makes it stand out, and it looks like the Lamborghini of the bike world. The wheels, everything comes together, the exposed chassis, frame, just love it. Absolutely love it, and she is a beautiful machine. But that's not the only great thing about this bike. One of the coolest things KTM have done is they've actually listened to a lot of feedback they got from last year's version, or was it the 2008 model, and they've made a lot of changes. First up, and one of the things that will be most immediate to anyone that rode the last model, is the throttle. A lot more sensitive. Don't get me wrong, it's still pretty harsh. This is a track tool. It's not a softened out everyday commuting bike, but it's a lot mellower than it was in the last model. Like the old model, she's got WP suspension fitted throughout, plus steering dampener, and I tell you what, they've got it really spot on with this. Slight change to the chassis tweak as well. Just means that you're getting a lot of feedback as a rider, and it just gives you, how can I say it? Makes you feel really special when you get it right. When you nail a corner and you come out of a roundabout and you absolutely put it on the edge, you feel like a real rider. And this is what this machine is. It is a proper track day tool. She has not got any electronic aids to soften her out and make her easier to ride on the road. There's no traction control, there's no ABS, there's 2 engine mappings, but let's explain those to you. They are 170 brake horsepower and 175 brake horsepower, which is its full kind of track mode, and it all depends on the type of fuel you put in. If you put in a RON 95 fuel, you want to go with a 170 mapping, and then obviously if you can get a RON 98, which as far as I'm aware we only get up to 97 in this country unless you actually get proper race fuel, you can set it on the top mapping. Another big thing KTM have improved this year is the smoothness of the engine. They've done that by putting in 2 spark plugs per cylinder and just kind of adjusting the fueling settings on it as well, and I tell you what, it really, really works. An amazingly cool feature about the RC8R is the exhaust that comes underslung the chassis here. I mean, look at that. You can hardly see it there. It doesn't detract from the beautiful lines of the bike, and it does sound pretty sweet. The only issue with that is that to get a set of cans on this, which I think to do this engine justice, you really, really need to. I've been bombing around with Alan on his Super Duke with Akrapovic cans on, and it's out-shouted this, is that you can only buy a full exhaust system, and that costs £2,000. So if someone wants to make a cheaper one, that would be nice. But I tell you what, I reckon it'd be worth it. Pretty much got some of the best components you can get on any motorcycle here. And as I say, it all comes together, and I think that's what's more impressive is the fact that KTM managed to balance everything out and bring it all together in a ride that is so much more responsive, less of a psycho machine than the last one, but in a good way, and as much you can get much more out of it. And I think the thing that will surprise you the most is going to be the price. Now, last year's model came in at just over 15,000. This, 12,995. They've knocked £2,000 off their class-leading sports litre superbike, which in today's kind of financial times, with Japanese bikes ever increasing, Ducatis, if you're looking at the 1198 SP, is almost up about £17,000, is incredible. Although, as I mentioned, if you are looking at this thinking, oh, it looks beautiful, I'll get this, I'll ride it to work every day, I'll use it as my sole form of transport, I think you'd be a little bit insane, and you'd be a much better rider than me if you could do that, because, as I say, she is so set up for the track. Best used on full-on track days or just big rides into the country like we've got today coming into Brighton. But wow, what a machine. And yeah, she's absolutely blown me away. Insurance Group 17, 13 grand. Go get yourself one of these, the Lamborghini of the bike world.
Oh, the bike looks hot, the weather looks hot.
I obviously looked hot.
Hottish.
Well, it was a very hot day, I think the hottest day of the year, and I was wearing leather, and I had long hair. Of course I'm going to be hot and sweaty. Hey, see what I did there. No, but amazing machine, the KTM RC8R, and something that blew me away last year is that KTM actually reduced the price of its standard brother, the RC8, to £8,200, which is cheaper than a cross runner. Boom, just to clear some stock. So hopefully you went out and grabbed yourself a bargain.
Bargain indeed. Right then, Luke. Now, obviously, you've heard about these new EU legislation laws that are coming in and they're going to affect us bikers.
Now, I've heard about some of this stuff. I believe there's something that you're never allowed to even change the tyre pressure on your bike. You've got to dress up in all-in-one high-vis one-piece pyjamas, and if you go for a ride on the first Wednesday of the month with a northeasterly wind of more than 12 miles an hour on a bike with more than 75 kilowatts of power, you have to balance a duck on your head and juggle 3 pineapples.
Oranges. I
knew I got something of that wrong. In fact, there's a lot of misinformation going around about these laws, so we thought we'd chat to someone who actually knows a little bit more. This is us talking to our MEP, Peter Skinner, about exactly that. Welcome to P&H Motorcycles once more in Crawley. We're here on a Saturday afternoon, and as you can see, there's a frenzied hive of activity behind us, and that's because MEP Peter Skinner will be here very shortly to talk about the new EU legislation laws that threaten all of us motorcyclists here in the UK. Right then, I found someone very important here to talk to, Paddy Tyson from MAG, which is a motorcycle action group, a man who spends his whole time campaigning for the benefits of bikers around the country, and obviously you're here today to chat to our MEP about the EU legislations and the licensing changes they're looking to bring in. What are the key... Well, for a start, why are you here today? You know, what do you want to get across?
The main issue is we've got one particular piece of legislation running through the European Parliament system at the minute, which is particularly frightening for us as riders, as well as for the industry here. And it's an amazing piece of legislation called the Type Approval and Market Surveillance Regulation, which is very sexy, very catchy.
Yeah, it just kind of slips off the tongue, doesn't it?
Absolutely, but unfortunately it covers all sorts of things. Big section on what they call anti-tampering, and I hate that word, really negative. What they mean is modifying. So this is anything in the powertrain from the top of the airbox to the diameter of your rear tyre. Now, if anyone goes and buys 5 tyres that are exactly the same size, allegedly, and stand them together, you'll notice they're different heights. Yeah. So there you go, you've already changed the gearing of your bike if you go from a Bridgestone to a Dunlop. It's like, oh gosh, that'll be against the law. How mad. So there's anti-tampering, then there's an article in there about controlling the sale of any component which may not be fully type approved or may have not been on the machine when it left the factory.
So what does that mean exactly?
Basically, issues like any air filter that may improve airflow, power commanders, anything like that you may do to, which they say may alter emissions. Well, all of this, there's a basis for all of this legislation, which is every single biker in the world is only interested in maximum speed.
Yeah.
That's the underlying current. So they don't care if you commute. They believe that the only reason we would do anything to our bike is to make them go faster.
So it's not the fact that they're practical, no. Do you know what I mean? They're cheap, they're the best way of getting around would ease congestion, everything, you know, all of these really good reasons.
Apparently. The only reason any of us ride a bike is to go really fast. So the only thing we would modify our bike for is more speed. They haven't thought for a moment that if I've got a 600 and I want to tune the nuts off it, I could actually just go and buy a 750. You know, if I really wanted to go faster. Yeah. So they can't, and this sort of mindset is a major stumbling block for us. And the high vis, if I could clarify very briefly.
Yeah, it's really good because there's a lot of misinformation out there, and I think this is a big thing, isn't there?
Full sleeve jacket over the top, not just a Sam Brown belt or a tabard. Full sleeve jackets. It's only Ireland that's introducing them. Okay. January 2014. France has just passed some legislation requiring 150 centimetres squared of high visibility equipment to be fitted between your waist and your shoulders. Now, there's an interesting reason why. Apparently it's not for safety. It's for safety only at night when we, as riders, are lying in the middle of the road.
Okay.
They don't want us to be hit by cars who are driving along. It's because they're concerned that once we've already been knocked off, apparently the person who knocked us off won't stop anyway. So when we're lying in the middle of the road, they don't want us to be run over. And I'm thinking, you're all insane.
Do you not want to stop the accident happening in the first place?
Well, and that's the funny thing, because when they do say it will reduce accidents, and you go, well, that's not what you said 2 minutes ago, we wonder, why then have you exempted all mopeds and 125s?
Which is the majority of accidents.
The majority of
those.
accidents. And they're the majority of accidents that happen in Cs. And they're the majority of accidents where someone else hasn't seen you and hit you. So why are you exempting them? It's bonkers.
Okay then, so we have here the man himself, MEP Peter Skinner, who has come down to P&H in Crawley. Very nice to have you here, sir. Firstly, thanks for coming down to hear our kind of like questions and stuff on the new EU legislation. Is it nice to come down to a bike shop and see what it's like down here?
Absolutely, in my own region, which I represent as well, which I know has many thousands of customers every year. So everybody's realistic, but everybody is hoping that we can see some changes.
Firstly, I mean, a lot of riders will be sitting out there wondering, why is a European legislation going to be affecting UK bikers? Can you explain a little bit of background on that?
Right. I mean, it's mainly about technical standards and safety, and most people know that manufacturers are global. You only got to look at the makes and the brands of particular bikes, and many of them, in fact, enjoy partnerships with European companies. So all that's really been done is trying to make a sense of the internal market of the European Union. It's not meant to be as political as it sounds, but when you only have a few stakeholders like the industry making representations and you miss out on some of the key stakeholders like the people who are the users, then you get the imbalance which we're seeing right now. And this is where I hope that MEPs, where we are the representatives of people, should be involved very directly in trying to make sure the changes reflect that balance.
So what you're saying is that none of this is concrete, none of this is actually going through yet. It's a case of...
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
First of all, let me say I've campaigned vigorously to try to change something of the conditions for training of drivers as well. And we worked with FEMA at the European level for the motorcyclists, and trying to get some changes to the way that car drivers, for example, or lorry drivers and others, have actually got in terms of working out their blind spots and just having better ideas about how motorcyclists use
Get them to do a CBT. Every driver did a CBT, there'd be so little accidents on the road.
Yep, I think that probably would be so true as well. But I mean, coming back to the point about what's going to happen next, what concrete steps, a lot of watering down has already occurred already on the original legislation. So what we're still looking at the moment is a commission text. Everybody should be afraid of that. But a parliamentary committee has already voted in so many ways to try to water down the idea of whether or not people can actually get involved in maintaining their own vehicles, for example.
Yeah.
So some of that has changed. What we need to do is actually wonder whether that's gone far enough or whether that is going to precondition the future for people to get involved with using certain mechanics, certain agencies, whether this isolates road users, motorcyclists from being able to go out and get parts from other places, or whether there will be a monopoly given to, I won't say which companies, but some companies who have been in the background trying to lobby for these changes to stay stuck.
This is a point I know a lot of bikers have asked me to get across is, listen, biking, whatever way you look at it, yes, mainly because of other road users, but it is dangerous. We know that, we accept that when we take it on. Why are they telling us what to do when, you know what I mean, it's our choice at the end of the day?
Absolutely, we're not all wrapped in cotton wool, we can't be wrapped in cotton wool, it is about freedom, and it's a utility. Many people use a motorbike because they have to, because of the economy, and it's not just...
It's not about going fast, they just want to do 150 mile a gallon.
Exactly, and I mean, when you're talking about the lower CC vehicles, which have been mentioned in this directive, you have to say moving it beyond the price of many people who need it in the service sector, going to backwards and forwards to work. So it is quite an important economic issue as well. It's not just about road users, but it's also a passion. And for many people who are your viewers, I'm quite sure that looking in your magazine program today, you'll be looking and they'll be saying, you know what, this is my life. When I get back at the weekends or during the evenings or whatever, I look forward to thinking about my bike and I read about my bike.
Yeah.
Everything's important about my bike. I know a lot about my bike, probably more than you, Mr. Skinner, probably more than anyone in Brussels right now, and they'd be right. But the thing is, we have to fight for those things as well. And to do that, you have to be able to use the representatives to go out there and argue that point. So load me with the facts, give information to other MEPs, and make sure that we just change what's happening there.
Peter, genuinely refreshing to chat to you. It's nice to know how much of an open mind and everything you've come down here for, and actually, that it seems that you actually want to listen and take on board the concerns that we've all got. So thank you so much. I'm going to leave you to the baying crowd now, my friend.
Well, thank you very much indeed.
Good luck.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. So today has been uber informative. As you can see, Peter Skinner, the MEP behind us, still fielding loads of questions from the thronged masses. And in fact, it's been really refreshing to chat to him today, to understand a little bit more about the processes involved in EU legislation and the EU Parliament, also to speak to MAG and find out their concerns, to get rid of a lot of the misinformation that's been surrounding these law changes, and also to see that people are listening. if you actually go out and express your concerns, your MEP, MAG, everyone will take those on board and hopefully get them to the right people in Europe and could influence their decisions. So I think the big lesson today is that apathy is our biggest, shall we say, worry, and that people need to go out and let people know how you're feeling. So get involved with MAG, write to your MEP, and whatever you do, just make sure that you let people know your concerns about this legislation. Otherwise, if it does come through, then you haven't had your say.
So hopefully that's cleared up quite a bit for you about what these new laws will entail and how you can stop them passing. Now, if you want to find out more, go to facebook.com/bike channel and sign the petition.
Right then, Suzy, have you ever been stuck at the side of the road in the cold and wet and the dark, thumbing through some old dog-eared map book that your dad gave you 20 years before that hasn't even got all the modern roads in, it's got pages missing, just trying to find out exactly where Shepton Manor is so you can meet your mates?
Shepton who?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what? I always try and memorise routes before I go out, but I always end up in a lay-by, checking my phone, I don't have a map, seeing where I am, I've missed the turning, I'm on the wrong road, it's a nightmare.
It is an absolute nightmare, but it could be a thing of the past because nowadays you can buy a whole world of biking sat-navs to put on your motorbike. So we thought we'd check out one of the market-leading ones and see if it's worth you shelling out your hard-earned cash for. Right then, Suzy, you'll be glad to know we couldn't have picked a better day to come filming our TomTom Urban Rider Sat-Nav review, purely because it is freezing cold and wet, my hands are completely numb, and what better way to show off exactly how good this is for bikers than to put it through its paces in these conditions. Now, I've been riding for the last couple of weeks with this Sat-Nav, and first up, it is a biker Sat-Nav. A few differences from the car one. You probably notice it's a much more rugged container and case. It's completely waterproof. The great thing is, you might think, well, it's going to be a pain to kind of connect and disconnect this from your bike every time. You attach it with a set of clamps that you get. You can attach to any bike, any set of handlebars. It comes off just as easily as this. And then you get off at destination, put it in your pocket, you're fine, and it just slips back on. Now, as a sat-nav, it's not as complex as some of the car ones, obviously designed to be used by bikers with cold, gloved hands, and I love it. It's so simple. You literally have two options to start with, whether you want to go straight into your route or just browse map. The keyboard works perfectly with winter gloves on, and even when you can't feel the tips of your fingers. I've proved that this week, and I've never had to input an address or postcode twice. Another handy feature for this, because a lot of people might say, oh, it's a bit of a distraction having to look down at the screen every 5 minutes. True, I suppose. Not as much of a distraction as being completely lost and panicking and not knowing where you are, but you can get a Bluetooth headset that, while not voice activated, which is a bit of a shame, some of their car sat-navs are, but that might be down to like the wind noise when you're riding fast, does allow you to hear all the vocal controls and obviously things like speed camera warnings. You've also got some really cool touches on this which you have in the TomTom car sat-navs, like the IQ lane advice, telling you which lane's getting at the big junctions, 3D building view in case you get lost around town, and just generally a really easy to read and use screen. Price-wise, it's £130 I've found online for just the base unit. If you want it with all the clamps and kits and everything, you're looking at around £200. You might have some of the clamps at home anyway. And with a Bluetooth headset, I saw it online on one of the big kind of like motoring retail websites for about £240 as a complete package, which is a bargain. We think the Garmin version's coming at about another £100, £150 on top of it. And I've got to admit, having used it for a couple of weeks, I'm going to struggle to get around riding nowadays without a sat-nav.
I couldn't actually live without my TomTom for my car, so I definitely need one of those in my life.
Honestly, I've got Google Maps on the iPhone. You know what it's like. You stop at a set of lights, you're frantically taking your glove off to try and find out where you are, whether you miss your turning, get your glove back on and get it in gear and get away before the car drives behind you, want to kill you for stopping the traffic. But it's a brilliant piece of kit. It's very, very practical, and you know what? Something that I'd definitely love to have in my life.
Now, Luke, I like to think that we're a pretty interactive show, aren't we? Yeah. And we love to hear your input. Yeah,
in fact, look, I actually went out and got my hair cut purely on the basis of the amount of abuse I was getting on the Facebook page.
£40 for a perm, that's a lot of money.
It's not a perm. How dare you say that, it's all natural. But no, obviously, one of the big things you guys did say to us was that you wanted us to have a look at the second-hand bike market, specifically see if we could find any bargain sports bikes for under £5,000. So myself and Suzy headed down to our local dealers just on the off chance they might have a few bargains for us to grab.
So Luke and I have come down to P&H Motorcycles, our local dealership, to find a used bike under the 5k mark.
Yeah, I mean, because you guys gave us the feedback that with the kind of current financial situation and obviously with Japanese sports bikes and pretty much all bikes that are over 1,000cc costing £13,000, £14,000, that, you know, you haven't got that much money to spend. You want to find bargains bikes for under £5,000 that you're going to have just as much fun on. And let's be honest, you know, I think there's some real gems here.
Yeah, definitely. I've had a little look around. It's like being in a sweet shop, isn't it?
It really, really is, man. Now, what kind of bike are you going to go for? Because there's so many on display.
Well, we've had a little bit of a chat about doing a track day, a bike channel track day. Right, so I'm going to be looking for a 600 sort of super sport track tool.
Ooh, I like what you're thinking.
Yeah.
ZX6R, Gixxer 600 along
Yep.
those R60 type lines.
What
Nice.
about you?
I've seen a few here actually. Well, do you know what? I love my sports bikes, and if you're going to do that, I think I'm going to try and find something a little bit different. Try and undiscover and kind of unveil a real gem. Maybe something that I'd never considered buying before, but for the money it is, and for the value and for the bargain, that you guys are going to absolutely love. That's my plan anyway. I probably won't find anything and just get a 600 Super Sport.
Good plan. No, you can't get the same as me. Don't pinch my idea.
Fair play, yeah, no, I know. So I reckon we should go have a little look around because there's so many bikes here.
Yeah.
It's going to take us a while, and then what? Get back in a few minutes.
Yeah,
and,
let's have a little mooch and then reconvene.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. Okay, now I know this isn't a competition, but I always feel really competitive whenever I'm doing anything against Luke. So I've dragged in a little bit of help from Sean. Now, Sean, what are the key points when looking to buy a second-hand bike?
Well, firstly and most importantly is definitely service history. Make sure the bike is serviced to schedule. If you don't know what the schedule is, find out. You know, they can always get a bit of a history as to how the bike's been looked after there. Really, it's nice when you buy a used bike, you usually got a few accessories on it as well, something you haven't got to spend your own money on. That's always good. And thirdly, the backup from the dealer, really. Make sure that you've got a decent warranty on there. If there's anything else they can sort of do for you, it's always good.
How can I make sure that I don't get ripped off as a woman?
That shouldn't come into it. Go to the right dealer.
Just come and see you,
Absolutely.
it'll be fine.
Of course.
So I'm looking for like a Super Sport 600, £5 grand's my budget. Is that realistic?
Very realistic, yeah. Yeah, there's always Sport 600s for around that kind of money.
Got lots in?
Got a CBR for you to try.
Ooh, right, well, let's go and have a little look.
So what, it's quite funny, there are actually so many bargains down here. I thought I'd be really struggling in this challenge today. I mean, check this out. Okay, it's not within our price range, but brilliant. Riza Suzuki, fully paint job, Gixxer Thal, £8,000, not bad. You've got here an XTR 1300 for 5,600, but this one caught my eye. Suzuki GSX 1400, 2006, 17,000 miles on it. It's got some nice little added extras as well, like a full Aki system. £4,475. That is a hell of a lot of bike for the money, but you know what? It's a bit too much of a battleship for me for this challenge anyway. I wanted to find something a little bit fresher, a little bit lighter. So I'm going to keep on looking, but I tell you what, you wouldn't be disappointed if you bought that, would you? Look what I managed to find, man, in full Ducati yellow as well. This is an ST3 from 2004, and you know what? I've always kind of fancied these bikes. They look beautiful, they've got a real presence on the road, and it's a Ducati. You're getting that badge as well, and all for just $3,995, which is a bargain. But with 11,500 miles on the clock, I think it might just be a little bit too high mileage for what I'm looking for. So I'm going to keep on looking, but I must admit, I'm kind of tempted with this.
Any chance of doubling the budget for a new bike?
Look what I have found. Now, when I set out on this kind of like find a bargain for under £5,000 instead, I wanted to find something a little bit different. I've got Sean in here to talk us through the bike that I have picked because, do you know what? I think this is a real bargain. It is the Suzuki SV650S. It has 6,000 miles on the clock, and guess what they're asking for it? £3,995. Now, this is technically an 11-plate bike, isn't it, Sean?
Yep.
It's pretty much brand new. It's completely unmolested as well. It's had no tricks or kits or anything added to it. 6,000 miles on it. It looks immaculate. Is it a good choice, do you think?
Superb, absolutely awesome all-rounder. Really well acclaimed in the industry.
I reckon I should take this for a spin then.
Go for it.
Okay, now I've made my choice. It's the Honda CBR 600RR, movie star paintwork. It's the 2006 model. Sean, why is this a good choice?
Because the extras, really. You've got a nice damper on it, bits of carbon, Acapulco exhaust, recent rear tyre, but the service history is good as well. So.
Now I've gone a little bit over budget with this. Tell us how much it is.
Well, it's under £6,000.
Luke, you're just gonna have to deal with it. I'll find ways to make the extra cash.
So then, Suzy, been out on a blast on our under £5,000 bargains. What do you think of yours, Stacey? I'm not going to lie, it's pretty amazing.
Do you know what? I absolutely love it. I love the way it looks, I love the way it sounds, the way it handles, it's really light. However, you saw me, I got stuck in the middle of a road, I was trying to turn around,
Yeah.
and I just couldn't push it back. I
Yeah.
don't know,
Couldn't
I
get
just
your
don't know
heels
if
down.
I couldn't get my heels down, so my feet aren't flat on the floor, so it is a bit of a problem when I'm manoeuvring without kind of any throttle. But apart from that, brilliant, love it.
I tell you what, it looks spectacular. It's a hell of a lot of bike for 5k. This, I think, is brilliant, man. 2011, 6,000 miles on the clock, spin run in. But you know what, it feels new, it feels brand new, pretty much like it is. It's such a plucky twin. I love the SV650 engine, love the colour scheme on it. It's a great chassis. Can't believe it's £4,000. In fact, under that, it's just brilliant. In fact, I think we should get back out on the road. What do you
Yeah,
reckon?
definitely. I bet you want to swap, don't you?
Just have a quick go.
Tough, you can't, it's mine.
Right then, Suzy, here we are back at P&H Motorcycles with our £5,000 bargains. Well, under £5,000, I should say. First up, what do you think of the Honda CBR 600RR?
Do you know what? It's an 06 model. It's got 12,000 miles on the clock, but it still feels sharp. It feels like a new bike. We actually rode these, didn't we, at the Ron Haslam Track Day School, and obviously the newer model. But they're great. They are. It's exactly what I was looking for. A track tool, but also something that you can, ride out on the roads at the weekends and have some fun with. And we definitely did that today.
I think you literally ticked every box when we started off. You take that on a Sunday, have a blast, take it to a track day. It's a serious piece of kit. Be honest with me. Did this come in at under £5,000?
Okay, so I blew the budget slightly by £200, but
That's not
you
bad.
know, I'm sure if you kind of flash the cash at your dealer, maybe you could get a couple of £100 off. What's £200?
Just flashing the cash though, nothing else.
But we've talked about, the extras that you get on this, and
Yeah,
I think
true.
it's well worth that money. What about your bike then?
Yeah, I mean, do you know what? I'm so surprised with this machine. Okay, it hasn't got any of the flash extras, hasn't got the flash paint job, apart from the lovely Go Faster stripe. But what's great about it is it's a 2011 model. It's got half the mileage of yours, 6,000 miles. Honestly, on a modern bike, that's just been running. It feels brand new. There's the crisp response on the throttle, the suspension's just so nice, the chassis. I love the SV650 engine. It's a V-twin, so it really pulls out the corners, have a lot of fun on it. It's a bit more practical, I think, a bit more everyday than your bike, but this came in at £3,995, which is ridiculous. That's like £1,300 cheaper than that for technically what is a bike which is only 6 months old kind of thing. I think we found ourselves two real bargains here, but I think the more important thing to take from today is these are just two. We saw so many amazing bikes out there today for under £5,000. People, I think, should be going out there and taking advantage of the second-hand bike market and go grab themselves a bargain.
Definitely. Do you know what? I can't believe how many bargains there were for under 5k. And there were so many different types as well. There were enduros, sports bikes, cruisers.
Pretty much everything. And as you said, it was the first week in January and we just popped into our local dealer, and it's traditionally a really quiet time in the second-hand bike market. It was out of the blue and that was just what they had on the showroom floor. Imagine what you could find on all the millions of online classified adverts.
Well, here's a challenge for you. If you think you can outdo our under 5k bargains, then just post your link on either Facebook or Twitter and show the world that you're the best bargain hunter.
And in fact, there are so many ways you can join the Bike Channel army and help us spread the word. Facebook.com/Bike Channel, via Twitter @Bike Channel. We've got our own YouTube channel, YouTube.com/Bike Channel. And of course, our spiritual home, BikeChannel.com. Right, you lot, I hope you've enjoyed our first series. We're going to take a break for a few weeks now as we prepare some amazing content for Series 2. And if you'd like to find out exactly when we'll be back on air, just head to Facebook.com/Bike Channel.